Graw Park. May the 29th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. on Government Street. May the 10th, 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. is Public Safety Memorial Park. Okay. April 14th, May 24th, September 22nd, 7 p.m. until 8:30
That's fine.
p.m. in Langham Park, and April 5th from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. at the grounds.
And that one is good too.
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to declare the structures at 314 Burton Avenue,
Hey,
1826.
can we go back real quick? I'm sorry.
Mhm.
On the request for the grounds on Saturday, starting at 8 a.m., are they going to be having all that kind of sound at 8 o'clock in the morning,
My understanding, the concert doesn't start till 10.
10? Okay, so moving it back to at least 9 o'clock is not a hardship on.
I don't think so.
Sound check.
Yeah, sound check.
Yeah, sound check.
The night before and that morning early. It normally takes about an hour.
It starts at 10.
Starts
Starts at 10.
Can we check with them and make sure? I mean, because that sound carries throughout the neighborhoods, and that early in the morning is a little
It does.
little tough.
I'll text and find out.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Public hearing to declare the structures at 314 Burton Avenue, 1826 Tolman Avenue, 1807 White Avenue, 1213 Chinkapin Street, 753 South Dr. Thomas Avenue, and 559 Hickory Street, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished.
Anyone having issues? Okay.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reggie Hill, comments regarding city retaining third-party law firms, Chapter 38 and 46 of the Municipal Code, oversight, court matters, police training, legal department definitions, and requests for legislation, and long-term impact of land grabs made by the city. Ordinance is held over. 34014, ordinance to levy taxes for the tax year beginning October 1st, 2025, and for successive years. This is
Any
the
issues,
epilogue.
anyone? No questions? All right.
Resolutions held over. 01439, authorized intergovernmental agreement with Mobile County Commission for the Mobile Arena project.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Reynolds.
this will have to be offered up as a substitution on the floor.
Okay.
01504, authorized agreement with Distinguished Young Women Foundation. 08509, approved purchase order to Long Lewis Ford for Ford Bronco SUVs for municipal enforcement. 08511, approved purchase order to North American Fire Equipment for fire hose. 09513, transfer funds for project STDO 8 to grant project GSTPOLDSH for grant match. 21514, authorized contract with PL Russell for Spring Hill Court retaining wall improvements. 21515, authorized grant with James B. Donahue for History Museum of Mobile HVAC upgrades. 21516, authorized contract with James Donahue for History Museum of Mobile chiller replacement. 47517 and 518 are considered vacation right-of-way located on Barnell Lane and vacation fee for the condition of the vacation.
Mr. Davis. Come on.
Mr. Anderson,
You first.
why don't you
Go.
go first?
All right.
I represent Air Engineers and this one.
Realty, that is the applicant here. They own the property to the west of this unopened right-of-way. To the east of it was the old Royal Night Lounge, which has now been, we purchased it and demolished it. Our plan, my client's plan is to expand its existing facilities, warehouse, air-conditioned business on the property to the west. I think the fee stated or determined by the real estate department is unreachable in this situation. The city has not, and I've met with Ms. Amberger before we filed it. The city has no service to that drainage ditch behind it. In discussing the situation with Nick, we agreed that for his consideration for his approval or his support of this, that we would deed, give an easement, right-of-way access easement along the southeast side of our property to the ditch so that the city could continue to maintain the ditch as it is now. So the city wouldn't be losing anything. We'd be swapping this right-of-way for that ditch. I think it's quite unreasonable to charge a company that wants to grow their business, expand and grow their business in Mobile, charge them a fee of $130,000 in this situation. I just think that's not very business friendly, and I would respectfully ask that the fee be waived.
Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for coming down today. We have been charging fees for waivers of right for giving up rights away for some time now, and I'm sure you understand that as stewards of the assets of the city, we can't just go around giving away assets of the city all the time. I think in this case, we are getting something back. And so I think that plays an important part in it. I think, I would be willing to, as far as I'm concerned, I'd be willing to waive it in this instance, but only because we're getting something back, not because your client is a great businessman
I understand that completely, and I appreciate it. Yeah, here's a quid pro quo in this situation, and it makes it reasonable not to have a fee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Any other comments, anyone? Mr. Reynolds?
The vacation fee, what do we need to do with this line item? This is to consider the application of a vacation fee, to apply the vacation fee.
Not sure exactly how I think we would just move to waive the vacation fee, right?
Generally a separate line item. It's usually a separate item on the agenda. So this would, to be to apply.
Just mechanics, how we're going to handle this.
Yeah, the mechanics is typically it's a waiver of the vacation fee because, you can, I guess, vote no on this particular one, but there would still have to be a line item that says you're waiving the fee. This is just saying you're approving the vacation fee at this amount. So you can deny it or pass it or just table it, and then someone will have to file a resolution to waive the vacation fee totally. And then you'd vote on that.
So I think just as a matter of practice in the past, it's always been, we go ahead and apply it, vote in favor to apply it, and then an additional resolution will appear on a later agenda to waive it. So we would just vote in the affirmative on both of these.
And then you come back with the waiver.
Hold up, Lisa. Hold up, Lisa, what'd you say?
Can we just make an amendment to waive the vacation fee?
On
could amend it,
518? Just amend that?
Yeah, let's just amend that. Let's just amend that too.
You could do that,
Yeah,
yes.
let's just handle it that way.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, Madam Clerk?
Consent resolutions being introduced, 37, 521, 522, 523, and 524 are recommending approval to the ADC Board for issuance of a special events retail liquor license for 2 Bottles Up Mobile on Battleship Parkway, for issuance of a retail beer, table wine off premises only license to True High Class on Dolphin Island Parkway, for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license to Big A.S. Bando Brunch Bar and Grill on Azalea Road, for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license to Holiday Inn Mobile Airport, Spring Hill Memorial Drive South. 525 through 530 are declaring the structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 46, 531 and 532 are honorarily renaming Euchre Street to Deacon Frederick E. Young Way and Oak Drive to Lucille Gonzalez Way. 58, 533, and 534 are authorizing removal of weeds and assessing costs for repeat weedling groups. 60, 535 through 537 are determined appropriations to People United to Advance the Dream of Mobile, Inc., Mothers Involved Against Gun Violence, and Boynton Oak Society serve a public purpose in approving payment. 03, 553 appoint Alan Williams as a supernumerary to the Board of Adjustment. Resolutions being introduced, 01.
Mr. Carroll.
I thought we already had a supernumerary on the Board of Adjustment. And that person was currently serving in place of the District 1 seat until that person was appointed. So if we have a supernumerary, why on a board of 7, why are we adding a second?
I think this, to the administration, I guess, the supernumerary that was put on originally, the intent was for him just to serve in intermediate, I guess, for a short time frame until a more permanent supernumerary was found. Was that my understanding? Wasn't it Taylor Atchison, I guess, was the supernumerary?
There are two spots. There are two supernumerary spots for the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
And who makes those nominations for the supernumerary?
Hold on 1 second. Mr. Anderson.
I just state that as the attorney for that Board of Adjustment, there are many times where, okay, we have 7 regular members. It takes 5 votes to pass something, and many times we only have 5 people there. So an extra supernumerary would help us tremendously, having a quorum and a good voting group there. So some people want to hold it over because they feel like they have a better chance of getting their application approved if there are more than 5 people there. So it does help to make sure we have 7 people voting at every meeting.
The way that board is set up, who makes that appointment and who makes the nomination for that appointment? Yeah. I say, that's right. I say let's hold this over until we know what the law is and the way it's set up and how that appointment's made.
Well, I thought this would be just a no-brainer, so that the business of the people can be conducted timely and effectively, and not have to worry about these quorum situation. There was an instance recently where, they were able to conduct their business, but the applicants were limited, right? They had to hold some applications over. And I thought certainly the councilman from District 2 would be happy to have one of his constituents serving on as the supernumerary. I think this guy actually lives in District 2.
That doesn't weigh my decision at all on who the constituent is. What weighs my decision here is the total transparency of the council and everybody having some input on who the appointee is, not knowing that it was coming and not knowing who it is. I don't think it's fair to these other 6 people up here that somebody's just been appointed without them even knowing what's coming. So let's withhold that, and maybe someone else may have a second opinion on who we think might be put there. And that's not going against the constituent. That's just in true transparency of the council.
I have a question, and as we lay this over, we may discuss this, but does the supernumerary attend every meeting? Is that the goal, to make sure that there's a quorum?
I think the way it generally works is as they prepare the agenda for the Board of Zoning Adjustment, the administration sends out that agenda. They know and that there is a meeting, and ask event that somebody can't be there, then the supernumeraries then go in.
So they try to plan in advance.
I think that they've
Yeah.
got a pretty good handle of it on the administration side.
I just think that in true transparency of the council, we should have all been aware of what was going on, and not just one council member putting somebody up for appointment.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it comes from the council, it ought to come from the council. So yes, I agree with that.
Mr. President.
Well, I know,
I
but
don't even know who the guy is, and he's in
No.
my district.
Yeah, he's in your
Don't
district.
know.
They own several businesses, and but I think this is an excellent choice, Mr. Reynolds. I've known Alan for quite a long time. Very intelligent, very good. So I think it's a great decision. Do you, Mr. Mr. Carroll lay it over a week with that.
I said that the whole council needs to look at it and see if it's a decision the whole council wants to make, or if there's someone else the whole
All right.
council wants. to
All right,
make.
council, what we can do is lay this over for 1 week, and anybody have any suggestions, just go ahead and just email each other through the email for this week, right before Thursday. All right, Madam Clerk?
Resolutions being introduced, 01538, authorize the purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of property located at 1668 West Interstate 65, Service Road South, $855,000. 01539, authorize reimbursable utility agreement with Alabama Power Company for the Innovating St. Louis Street project, $120,603.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Reynolds.
I believe Mr. Woods has something to say about 01538.
If you all have questions, I'm going to plan to take you all in executive session, let you ask those questions since it involves negotiation of real estate and or leasing property, because there's been no movement. But once we go into executive session, you'll be familiar with this one already because I've talked to you about it.
We can just take it up after.
Yes, sir.
Pre-council. Okay.
01540, authorize agreement with Pelican Coast Conservancy for conservation easement for property located off Todd Acres Drive and Cooman Road, $45,954.60. 08541, approved purchase order to Acatus for boring of 4 intersection signals, $79,151.81. 08542, approved purchase order to Harrell's for fertilizer and herbicide for Azalea City Golf Course, $18,052.87. 08543, approved purchase order to Image Trend for annual renewal of rescue and EMS reporting software, $90,375. 08544, approved purchase order to SHI International for annual renewal of Microsoft Windows and Office software products, $412,750.24. 08545, approved purchase order to 10X Software Solutions for setup and leasing of electronic polling equipment for the municipal election, $252,264. 09546, transfer funds from public facility improvements Alabama Cruise Terminal Fund to Capital Project Cruise Terminal Parking Deck Repair, $200,000.
Mr. Reynolds.
What sort of repairs are needed over at the cruise terminal parking deck? Welcome back, Joe.
Well, thank you very much. Normally, it's all the upkeep required with a prefabricated garage. There's cracks that we need to repair. There's the gaps that need to be filled because it's all jigsawed together. So unlike a port garage, there's a lot of joints and things that we have to replace, and just general upkeep and power washing, and because of the salt water impacts on the structure itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
09547, transfer funds from the unassigned fund balance in the general fund to capital improvement fund for the animal shelter, $330,000. 21548, authorized contract with McCoy and Williams for North McGregor reconstruction, $123,695. 25549, accept an easement for recreational purpose for 3 Mile Creek Greenway Trail project. 31550 and 551, adopting the Community and Housing Development CDBG Home ESG fiscal year 2025 action plan and an additional public service provider to the CDBG 2025 action plan Boys and Girls Club.
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr.
I would like to just remind everybody that we will have a entitlement committee today at 1 p.m. to discuss 31550. So we're just asking if you have any questions during that time. Jamie Roberts and his team will be here at 1 p.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
60, 554, and 555 are accepted and adopt Title VI 2025 update program for the WAVE transit system and adopt the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan version 4 for the WAVE transit system.
Any questions or comments from anyone?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Regarding these Title IV and V programs, is this something that we routinely renew, and how often?
It's annually, and it's requirements of the federal government about discrimination and safety in order to receive federal funds.
Okay, and I know this was added late, and I can't say that I have my head totally wrapped around it, but what are the implications of not approving it?
Loss of federal funds.
Okay. And what are the implications of approving it, since we're sort of in this debacle with WAVE going on right now?
There's about 1.5 million, I think, that we get in federal funds. And we have to comply with the federal regulations, which is what that does. And so you would be waiving the receipt of about 1.5 million.
Okay. And our contract with WAVE is up in June. Is that
June
correct?
30th.
Okay.
Yep.
Separate issue, but this goes into a lot of these same issues that were raised in our public meeting and all that sort of stuff.
So what you're looking at, it is pro forma, and you're correct. Same issues, but different people. So that is Title VI. What you are doing is, and same as council does every year, and I think the ones of you who have been there for a while remember that, as Title VI is just purely saying that there is a process for reporting discriminatory activity, and the federal government requires that. And so that is the procedure laid out. A number of things. They have to have an officer that particularly does that. There's a gentleman here from the WAVE to speak to that if you all need those questions answered. But I've looked at it. It's not any different than what you all vote on every year, but it is tied to those federal funds. Who's to say one way or another what the enforcement looks like on those anymore? We have not had those issues, but I think more aptly to your question, Mr. Reynolds, we were getting questions from the employees about treatment. What this Title VI does more aptly is deals with our citizens and protecting our citizens overall. So it's a much bigger umbrella for Title VI and the reporting guidelines tied to those funds.
Okay, we're here going to have a public services committee meeting on public transportation as a whole very soon. So if this is adopted by the city council, do we tie our hands to this commitment beyond the June deadline? So
No.
there could be a departure from WAVE in June.
Right.
And there would be no implication as a result of us passing this plan.
That's right. That's one is completely separate from the other. What you're looking at here is making yourselves, or as a governing body, being eligible for the federal funding. This is not committing that you will in fact have a contract with First Transit going forward in June. That's a separate and apart governing operation. As the governing body, you have the sole authority of whether or not you're going to vote to go into a management agreement with First Transit, whether it be June or otherwise. I would probably ask that we look at giving you all more time than June to have those discussions, because there's a lot of information, a lot of history. And so you probably want to look at extending that for another 90 days or so that you can have a series of meetings to talk about issues with the WAVE. Your June contract. So so you don't have an interruption in service, but so that you all as the governing body are not under the gun to have that type of discussion, in such a short amount of time. So rather than having that conversation and having to have an answer by June, I would say extend it another 90 days, have that conversation early September.
Mr. Kara.
The federal funding, is this only federal funding as it relates to, say again?
Public transportation.
Right, so I heard him say that we would be waiving $1.5 million in federal funding.
Possibly. Yeah.
I can't hear what he said.
So what happens is this is a condition precedent of getting that 1.5. So this is not checking the box. Like I said, this is no different than what you all voted on in the past.
What's our total allocation from the federal government for the WAVE?
It's in the 1.5, 1.6 range. you all, as the city and the governing body, produce upwards of 10.
And so
Largely
1.5
subsidized.
only comes from the federal government. So you're saying that 9.5 comes from the city of Mobile?
8.5.
8.5, I'm sorry. So 8.5 comes from us, period, and no other municipalities. I thought we were only subsidizing the grant when we last talked. We were adding an additional $3 million.
That's probably $3 million in addition to the budget. But I'm telling you, you pay for it. The city pays for it.
Okay. All right. One last thing. There needs to be some clarity there, I think, in my head. One last thing. If we don't pass this today, then we lose the opportunity for 1.5 million. Is that what you're saying?
More than likely. There's probably a 90% chance that you don't get to apply for those additional funds.
Guys, I just got this at 8:15 this morning, and I was only able to get to page 12 out of 86. So I'd like to know, kind of what I'm voting on. I don't remember all of this, is what I'm saying.
Sure. So Title VI of the Civil Rights Act basically says, and that's what it references. This is
About the 1964 Civil
that
Rights
is
Act?
right. It basically says that one, we will have a process, the WAVE in conjunction with the management program will have a process that allows people to complain about a discriminatory activity, and the city doesn't necessarily want that. Two, the other part of it is that we will stand in compliance. So back to Mr. Reynolds' question is, do we stand with not discriminating against people and having a process that allows people to complain both to the WAVE and then secondarily to the federal government and to the governing body if necessary? Then yes. This is not terribly different than what we as a city do on a regular basis. It's just a part and a condition of dealing with the federal funding. So, and this is the DOT version. That's the only real difference. Not markedly different than what we vote on a regular basis dealing with the federal government.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Dave.
Not really. I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my head around.
We'll come back to you
comment,
after.
but it's okay. Let's.
We'll come back around to you. Mr. Dave, Mr. Penn, then we'll go back to Mr. Carroll.
I have to admit that I'm absolutely perplexed why we were taking so much time on this, which is something we have done every single year, is a condition precedent to our receiving the federal money and mandates things that we want to do anyway. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Penn.
Thank you, Joel, for your passion.
Thank you. Just trying to be like you.
I did have a question, and hopefully it won't take too much time, Joe. With the federal funds, does that money goes to the First Transit or it come to the city of Mobile? It come to us. So regardless of who, after we renew the contract, we have those funds. Yes.
It's passed through federal dollars that are eligible through participation in programs such as this. And so
To the extent if you all decided you wanted to do something differently, with federal funding, you still had public transportation, then there's a possibility you could use it in other ways. But this is particular for this year, because you'll note that this document has February 2025 going forward. So we're talking about from February until June of 2025, or to whenever you all extend or don't extend the agreement. Two different conversations.
Okay.
One does not govern the other.
And then regarding the contract, if we decide to extend it, do we have a time frame that, I know June the 30th is when the contract ends, but do we have to, like, you utilize 90 days? Could we go?
This is February 25th forward,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, yes. Look, you have the discretion as long as the parties agree. You can do that.
But it has to be an agreement, of course, with First Transit as well. So those things could potentially change.
I agree, but you have about 10 million reasons why they should.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
So just to make sure, whether or not we extend First Transit's contract has nothing to do with this mandate to be able to go through the process to continue getting the federal funds.
Correct.
Mr. Carroll.
They're close. I guess the only thing that I'm still worried is that, or not worried is this $1.5 million going anywhere towards the current contract or operating agreement we have with First Trans?
It could, right? It
So-
could, but you won't get it in time.
Okay,
But that's up to you.
so the council would have the ability to put a stopgap there so none of this money would go to First Transit whatsoever until we figure out the contract in June.
Well, I would think if we don't renew their contract, that the money stops
But
from them.
Operations will keep going no matter what the contract does, and we'd have to pay whoever's operating.
Would it not
That's my
continue?
question. That's where my head in the stopgap is.
Well, so
I heard that, Mr. Mayor.
So yeah, look, so two things is, do you get to say, no, this money doesn't go there? No, and here's why. Is the money is fungible. Once it comes to us, it just goes out. I mean, it's not like you're putting it in some segregated account. It goes in and is part of that operational cost. So if that's a concern, then that is something that council will have to figure out. The other part of this is, until June, you're going to be operational anyway. You know, it doesn't change what you do or don't do today. And I don't know that it will change your conversations that you have, whether you extend past June or not.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
I just have one question. I don't want to belabor the point, but anything we do today is regarding the 1.5 million, everything. Obviously, we know what the structure of the public transportation system in the city of Mobile is right now. The 1.5 million, is that contingent? Does that have anything to do contingent upon that same structure, regardless of the vendor? If we change the structure of the system, do we potentially forfeit the 1.5 in your opinion? And then also too, like with this, that none of this is contingent on if we change the structure after the end of June.
No, it does not. But if you do change vendors, then you would have to submit another document because this is specific to the wave. So you just submit another document, but it doesn't change what you do or don't do.
Thank you.
Mr. Days?
This may be a question for Mr. Collins instead of Mr. Woods, but what has been the history of the federal contribution to the wave? My understanding is it has declined over the years, and I believe it's declined significantly.
yes, sir, it has declined each year. Over the last 5 years, we're averaged about $750,000 in declining dollars.
Per year?
Yes, sir. Average over those years. Most of what we get today comes through the form of reimbursement for vehicles and equipment, buses and that sort of thing for match money. The document that you have before you just simply allows us the ability to continue to be eligible for those dollars under the agreement. It doesn't change the actual agreement itself.
And the city has had to make up that shortfall, which has been occasioned by the federal government.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So our contribution to the wave has increased dramatically over the last 5 years.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Call for public hearings 41-552. Call for public hearing to consider the proposed modification of a previously approved plan unit development for property located at 3674 and 3680 Dolphin Street, scheduled May 6th. Announcements.
Going back to consent resolution 03-533, I'll say the clerk, and she's going to look up the history and the rules on that. Just check your emails, and anyone might have anyone they want to suggest. Let's just try to get that done by tomorrow, so we can have it on the agenda by Thursday, okay?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Carroll.
the waive is under the resolutions being introduced. You have to weigh the rules
Weigh
to
the
pass
rules.
today, or it lays over a week. And I keep hearing the intent is for it to pass today.
I'd suggest we take those two up today, as well as 01540. So $46,000 item, and 08542, an $18,000 item.
542, and which one?
540 and 542.
Oh, okay, just those two.
Any issues, anyone? Any other comments from the council? Anything from the administration?
Mr. President, I want to know if anyone has questions about that real estate purchase, I'd be happy to take you all into executive session to answer those questions.
Counsel? Reynolds?
No.
Carol? Yes. You good, Days? Gregory?
Yes.
Penn? Woods? Okay. Anything else from the administration? Vice President?
So, and again, we're waiving 6554 to vote on both of these today?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, anyone? If not, we'll see each other at 5 PM at the Museum of Arts, okay? April Fool. See you. See you 10:30 downstairs.